So my next video, the 12-month one, will be the big update about hormones, etc. Which brings me along to my interactions with my doctor recently. I went last 3rd of May roughly and had my blood work done. I also found out the results to my previous blood work. Currently my testosterone levels are at 0.6 nanomoles, and that was last time and this time, because I've since been back and got the results for this one already. So for the past 6 months my testosterone levels have been 0.6 nanomoles, and that is well within normal repressed female levels, so that's really good. I'm happy with that. My estrogen levels, I don't really understand quite how that works, because the first score came back at like 720 something, and this one's come back at like 297, so I'm not sure if that's particularly high or low. On that front, I think my gender doctor will make adjustments to that once she's seen them. I'm still waiting to hear what she wants to do with those, but obviously the estrogen levels have more than halved, which seems a bit odd to me, but I don't really understand those figures yet, so it is what it is. Also, while I was at my GP, the same one that carried out the blood tests for me, I created a second appointment to go back and see about getting funding for laser hair removal. At the moment, the doctor I saw, he wasn't the head practitioner, but the doctor I did see there was like, no, we're not going to help you with that. We wouldn't help anyone with that. We don't help people with that. So I said, well, I think you'll find there are provisions made for transgender people, even to a certain degree, even that over cisgender women who also want laser hair removal for you know, many reasons, but in the end it comes down to confidence, and not, you know, a cisgender woman doesn't want to have a hairy top lip any more than we do, so they quite often, if it's affecting their confidence, will go to the doctor and see if there's anything that can be done to help them out. But he says they don't put funding in place for that and they won't support it. I said I wasn't going to take no for an answer. I mean, I wouldn't have gotten where I am now if I did. So I said I'm going to go away, do some research. I know there's some sort of pack you can fill in and then apply for funding, so I'm going to have to find out about that and see about filling out this pack and see if I can get some help, because I have changed my face laser routine, as I said or might have mentioned previously. I've moved the old one, which was the high intensity light pulse one, the cheaper stuff, down to my chest. I've had one go of that on my chest so far. It's too early to say anything much whether or not it's going to do anything, but if it's anything like my face, it won't do much, maybe thin it out a little bit. But the stuff I'm having on my face is the full bore stuff now. It does seem to be doing something. It's certainly a lot more powerful than the previous one, and yeah, I think I'm getting results. I mean, it's only been 2 sessions, and I do think it's definitely doing something compared to the previous one. But at £150 a pop, plus the £40 for my chest, that's £190 every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on who I'm seeing. I can't keep up that kind of pace, hence the reason, you know, financially, hence the reason why I'd like to get some help with it. As I say, they're putting a stop on that at the moment, but time will tell. I am trying to bring some of the resources which are supposedly available for all of us to bear, but I can see why it takes people years to get anything done, because it's not exactly forthcoming and easy to access. As for voice therapy, it seems to be going well. As far as my instructors said, she's very happy with the effort I'm putting in and the progress I'm making. Week 1, I think I've said this so far, and I will have to do a series of videos about the voice stuff, I think, separately, once I'm happy and confident enough with my voice to try and show other people what I've been doing with it. But at this stage now, basically early stage, it was just learning to hum, then it was vowel sounds, then it was practicing single words. Now it's moved on to phrases and putting in oscillations into the way you speak, trying to start from a high point and on a high point again, to give your voice a lift, and that way every time you start a new sentence you're always at a high point, because you start on a high and finish on a high, and it apparently helps to give you a more feminine, softer voice and feminine tone. So early days still, or I feel like it is, even though it's been 4 or 5 lessons now. We booked some more appointments, which are going well into July now, so every 2 weeks. And I did ask her how many I can have. She said typically it's 12, but there's nobody, her books are not flooded at the moment, and there's nobody telling her how many she can or can't do, so hopefully I'll continue to make good progress. Voice therapy does give or produce a lot of homework. I spend a lot of my time with these sheets that she writes out for me. It's lists of words and phrases that I have to practice. I usually find time to practice in the car on the way to work. That's generally the only time I do it at the moment. Although with the amount that she's given me this week, I think I'm going to have to start finding a solution, because 10 minutes is not going to, 10-11 minutes isn't going to cut the mustard as far as practice time anymore. And I should be doing more anyway. She's challenged me to start trying to use it in everyday environments and things, so I have to get over myself and start using it, but it's so hard, and you just feel so uncomfortable, and you know it's not where you want it to be, or you open your mouth and just your voice just completely lets you down. So it is going to be a real struggle for me to get to that point where I'm just casually dropping it in. And quite the opposite as well is that I find when I'm with people I know, I just revert back to my natural voice, because I know them and they know me anyway. So I think, well, I just use my natural voice. But I did have a bit of a scare this month. My private gender doctor that I use, the one that actually prescribes my hormones and writes referrals for various things and such, seemed to go dark for a while. The last response I had from her was the 27th of March, and you know, we're halfway through May. I've been asking about the blood results that I've since had and have mentioned earlier on, but yeah, I've been asking about those and just not hearing anything back, and I'm into my last 30 days of patches and things now and meds, and I was starting to get really worried that I was going to have to go cap in hand to my local GP and explain the situation and see if he'd take me on, which, you know, bearing in mind they're not even putting in funding in place for my voice therapy, I was worried I'd really struggle to get them to agree to that. But after some assistance from that said GP's receptionists, they were able to get hold of her, and her staff have attempted to contact me successfully since. So other than giving me the blood results for the previous 2 months, which I now know and have said to you earlier, she said they're gonna decide what to do with those results in terms of my next prescription. There might be an adjustment finally. I hope so, because at this point I'm 11 months into what is effectively 24 months of progress, because as we know, after 24 months it's diminishing returns that you're going to see from all of this. You basically get the most dramatic changes in the first 2 years, and then after that the rate of change slows, you know, dramatically, and like I said, you get diminishing returns. So my chest is still quite small, or very small, and although I was quite upbeat and positive about it last month, and it's only a month on, I actually feel quite downbeat about it this month, because I am approaching that halfway point, and I was thinking, I've just sort of gotten into my own head and thought, well, hang on, this isn't half the chest that I want to have, and I don't know if I'm just putting too much into it, but that's how I feel about it anyway. One other minor thing I've had done is I got my weave cut at a hairdresser's in Folkestone, which was recommended to me by a transgender friend. I had a lot of worries about what I was going to do with my hair, because the major problem with wearing artificial hair is what they call friction frizz, which comes from, it's a fibre effectively. Even if you're wearing a 100% natural hair, it's still a fibre, it still rubs, and because it's not living, it doesn't repair itself, it doesn't grow back, so every single bit of wear and tear is there forever. And all my hair, which I'm sure I had noticed in recent pictures and videos, it was obviously much further down than this, but it was all flaring out, the ends were all big and gnarly, and you know, it was a right monster to try and control it. So I was getting kind of worried about it, so I went to see a hairdresser. She cut both my natural hair and my weave, and I was actually really blown away, really impressed by what she did and the price she did it for. I was amazed, and I'll definitely go back. I left them a positive Google review. It all helps when they get looked up on Google, so I hope that does help them out a bit. But I wouldn't want my hair to go any shorter than this, and I think if it happens again, I shall just have to replace the hair. I did look into the cost of replacing this wig, almost like for like, and it was going to be about £220. The woman in the shop, because I was a regular customer, said oh, I could do it for about £180, but as I just explained with the face laser, that's pretty much the same price as that. That came in at £190 this month for the chest and face. There was no way I was going to be able to afford, you know, £220 or even £180 new weave on top of that. So I got my hair cut for £17. She did a fantastic job on just trimming it up, making it all neat again. I'm really happy with what she's done. She also, because this is a monofilament weave, you can move the fringe around and do what you like with it like normal hair. She suggested, and obviously this is specific to me, but she suggested to move my parting over and have an off-cut fringe, because apparently, one, it still breaks up the forehead, which is why I had it split down the middle before, but also by having an asymmetrical fringe, it also apparently softens the centre of your face as well, because it's not, if you've got a centre part and it just directs everyone's eyesight right into the centre of your face here, which in my case and everyone else's is obviously my nose, which is not something I'm particularly comfortable with, and so anything that can soften my face is obviously welcomed by me. So I took her advice on board, and this is how I'll be wearing my hair from now on. Unfortunately, she did look at my natural hair. I thought it had been going absolutely crazy, but she didn't seem to think quite as much, and she just basically said, really all I can do is, you know, trim it up so that it encourages it to grow, and basically come back in another 6 months, because obviously my weave's not going to need cutting in the meantime, so basically come back in another 6 months. She did show me the back of my head where my crown is rather thin. It was upsetting to see, but encouragingly she was able to show me that it is covered with all new sort of thin, very fledgling hair, so hopefully eventually it will grow into something tougher and usable. She did say that they've got staff there who are excellent and are capable of putting in full length extensions and permanent extensions and everything else, but again, it's all, even though the haircut for my weave was nice and cheap, you know, when you start talking about 100% hair extensions and permanent hair extensions, I think it was like £300 plus you get one maintenance on that, and then after that you're paying like £70 to have them tightened up and put back in place and things, and generally maintained. And as I say, I'm self-funding. I haven't got the money to do all this, and even if I wasn't self-funding, this isn't anything you're going to get on the NHS anyway, so it's I'm relying on my own hair to come back through for me eventually.